Hey y'all, welcome to episode 3 of It's Better Out Than In. I'm Shana, your host and your voice. This is going to be another one of my stories. Like I've said before, I've got a lot of them. Some are worse than others, but it's all relative and it's all wrong. This one's not about a violent assault. This one's more about the gray areas and the uncomfortable truths of consensual statutory rape. So without further ado, this is SHANA'S story, The Man in the White Shorts. When I was about 14 or 15, my cousin Shannon invited me on a trip to Myrtle Beach with her youth group from Hickory Grove Baptist. We were only a couple months apart, and we were thick as thieves, hellcats, trouble with a capital T. We were both troubled, too, so we were a little bit reckless at times. We got into so much trouble with her mama and mine, and that trip was to be no different. We were hanging out at the beach one day when a group of guys approached us. One of them was a hot young man in wet white shorts, and he started flirting with me right away. He was 24, which made me feel awfully grown up. I was already used to grown men hitting on me. They'd been doing it for literally my whole life. As they say, once I was able to crawl, I was in the right position, apparently. I don't remember the diaper days, so I can't tell you much about that, but I do clearly recall several episodes with different boys and men at various times. I'll tell y'all those stories later. I had to grow up fast as a kid. On top of all that, I was privy to the perv and keen to the kink early on. Whether it was hearing dirty jokes or racy remarks or adult conversations or watching movies like Porky's and Revenge of the Nerds or getting comments about my figure or someone else's. One grandfather had a collection of vintage reel-to-reel movies. Some of them were silent films and they had topless ladies flouncing around in them. I'm not sure if he filmed them himself or if they were acquired, but most of the others were home videos, so who knows. I'm pretty sure one of my pervy uncles inherited those. Luckily, he's not married in anymore, so that's good. At another grandfather's house, there were playboys, penthouses, hustlers, and my favorite freakish fascination, hustler humor. That was some vile, disturbing stuff. Me and my little brother would be just a-giggling and snickering, looking at those dirty magazines. Would be the same way anytime we drove past Thompson's Bootery and Bloomery. That was a shop that sold sexy negligees and edgy stuff like crotchless panties and bras that had openings to reveal the nipples. The storefront windows would be loaded up with mannequins sporting all those racy outfits, and they constantly changed them up. Sometimes they'd be dressed up in holiday-themed get-ups, which was always fun. We'd just about break our necks, gawking at it until it was out of our sights. I've always heard that they had live models at one point, but it got nipped short because there were so many wrecks at that intersection. I believe it too. I suppose we're all a little bit pervy, aren't we? A lot of us, at least. I always say I got it honest. There was always at least one of those magazines in each bathroom at Papa's house. It'd be handy, right next to the toilet. Usually on top of the latest copy of Pro Wrestling Illustrated or something stimulating like that. There'd be a stack of old issues in the closet in case you wanted to, reread an article or something. Some of those smut mags didn't even have articles, so I know some of y'all are lying. Just like how you go to the titty bar for food and Hooters for the wings. Sure you do. I'm sure everything tastes better to you with tatas on the side. One buffet for your belly, one buffet for your eyes. Double your pleasure, double your fun. I know what boys like, I know what guys want. Yeah, I've had quite the education. Anywho, back to the beach. Little old me, who already knew too much, was beyond flattered when that guy sat down next to me and started talking. Being a young girl with hormones raging, not to mention being a young girl with sexual trauma and a dysfunctional home life to go with it, I was tickled and more than surprised to be the object of his attention. Him in those white shorts. He and his friends eventually went their way and we went ours. But we ran into each other later at a party some random people were throwing. I'm pretty sure they just called us over as we were walking by, and we were more than happy to be invited in. I don't think any of us quite understood the potential danger of going to a shindig at some stranger's condo. Yet. Me and my cousin had snuck out after curfew with a couple other girls from the youth group to try and meet up with those cute boys, aka men, from earlier. To my delight, the good-looking guy with the see-through shorts was there, and when he noticed us walk in, he made a beeline right over. He said he was glad to see me. Me. I felt pretty special to be the one he chose, out of all the prettier, more mature, more sophisticated, actual women he had to pick from at the party. He led me out to the back patio, away from everyone else. We were making out, and he was at second base when we got the panicked alert that one of our chaperones was on her way. I hastily kissed him one more time and then took off, yelling goodbye to him over my shoulder. Me and the other youth group fugitives hot-footed it into the night, giggling like schoolgirls. That's what we were, after all. Schoolgirls. 7th and 8th grade. Middle school. Not even in high school. When we got back to our condo, we were surprised and a little panicked to see those guys right behind us. They'd followed us back in hopes of hiding in our room until our chaperone left. We probably would have let them too, but lucky for us, one of the good girls who'd stayed back at the room when we snuck out was not having it. She was not happy with any of us, especially those old horn dogs. We got the hounds dispersed just as our chaperone got there. She gave us all a good, stern talking to and made sure we were all settled in before she left. The good girls had to come to Jesus with us that night, and again the following morning. People always say stuff like, your body's a temple, or you should save yourself for marriage, or why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free, or nobody likes gum that's already been chewed. My old youth pastor would always say, leave some room for the Lord if he saw us boys and girls getting a little too close for his comfort. My sex education at home was essentially, don't do it, and you're a whore if you do. I definitely was not prepared for encountering hot dudes and hot pants in the wild. The next day, my only goal was to find my knight in white shorts before we had to leave that afternoon. In my youthful naivete, I actually thought he might be looking for me too. Wasn't I mature for my age? Didn't he find me attractive? Was I not fun to hang out with? Did he not run after me last night? I mean, as far as I could tell, he was practically my soulmate. That's how young hearts are sometimes. I'm sure that's why having affairs with young girls ends up being romanticized in so many songs. I was doing an Allman Brothers tribute once, and they asked me to sing You Don't Love Me. I was all in until I read the lyrics. Well, I'm going to tell my mother, and I'm going to tell my father too. Lord, I'm going to tell my sweet mother, I'm going to tell my father too. Well, I'm going to tell everybody what those young girls will do to you. No, man, I ain't singing that mess. That's how I roll. I don't sing anything I don't believe in. I won't do cheating songs, or hateful songs, or look at all my stuff songs, or pick-me songs. Although I make exceptions for stuff like Jolene, because Dolly Parton is a national treasure. Plus, Jolene was just some pretty little girl, not some home-wrecking hussy. If anything, I hope somebody kept an eye on pretty little Jolene. I'm not going to glorify or be complicit in normalizing men taking advantage of the heightened emotional sensitivity and hormonal challenges of teenage girls. It's not poetic. It's pathetic. So anyway, there we were, me and my cousin on the hunt. We scoured the beach and all the grounds around the complex. We asked people we'd met at the party about him and stopped anyone else who'd seen with him until we finally got lucky. Once we figured out which condo was his, I timidly knocked on the door and waited. My cousin and I stood there, laughing nervously as we heard footsteps and movement inside. All of a sudden, a pretty blonde lady opened the door and looked at me with inquisitive, sleepy eyes. It was obvious that she'd been there all night. I was a little bit shocked and a lot embarrassed as I stammered, "Can you just tell him to come to the door? We're about to leave. I just want to say goodbye to him and let him know that it was really nice to meet him." She did, and then he did, and then I did, and that was that. I went on and took my sad schoolgirl ass to the bus. And perhaps my fastest rebound ever, I met my next boyfriend on the way home. I actually developed 2 crushes on that ride, but only one showed any interest once we were back in town. The one I ended up with was a bad boy and a cheater. But hey, at least he was my age. I'd be mighty curious to eavesdrop on that conversation that probably went down after I left that condo. It was pretty awkward and kind of sad, for me at least. It would suck so bad to be laid up in the bed with your grown-ass boyfriend, or your booty call, or your late-night hookup, and then to have some little love-struck teeny bopper come sniffing around in the morning. I'm sure he told her that I had some kind of schoolgirl crush or something, and that nothing had happened between us. But it did, and I did. Oh, she may be weary. Young girls, they do get weary. You ain't lying, man. It's all so easy. All you gotta do is try a little tenderness. Oh, you won't regret it. Some girls, they don't forget it. Those damn lyrics. I've loved that epic Otis song for a long time and grooved right along with it, never giving it much thought. I just love how he says men don't really have to do much to keep young girls happy. They'll forgive a multitude of transgressions or a whole heap of neglect as long as you show them a little bit of affection. Otis says that all you gotta do is hold her where you want her, then squeeze her and rub her gentle, man. Easy peasy. Simple and sleazy. Love is their only happiness, after all. Did I hear that right, Mr. Redding? Yeah, I thought so. I don't know what it's like for girls that come from safe homes, where their voices are heard and respected, where they don't have trauma or dysfunction cycling through generation after generation. I don't know what it's like for girls that are taught to own their bodies, to stand in their power, or to be worthy of healthy boundaries. I don't know what it's like for girls that don't feel dirty or broken or unlovable. That wasn't my path. I was the girl that just wanted to feel cared for, to feel pretty, to feel special, to feel wanted. The girl that always felt out of place in her own skin, tainted, misunderstood, ugly. The dissociated girl with the disrupted nervous system, a disrupted childhood, a disrupted life. I was hypersensitive, hyper-aware, hyper-reactive, and hypersexual, although I somehow managed to keep my virginity until I was 18. I felt abandoned. I felt lonely. I felt ashamed. I felt betrayed. I felt like an outcast and a black sheep. I felt like a big black cloud, utterly unlucky. So, when a hottie in transparent trousers shows a girl like that a little bit of affection, her young heart can spin right off into a hopeless, romantic fantasy. A starry-eyed scenario where someone finally sees her, finally makes her feel safe and secure, finally rescues her from the madness of her life. What she usually can't see for herself, but that's obvious to people who prey on the vulnerable, is that she has a look. She often puts off a vibe that lets men know she's a target. Her shielded body language makes her an easy mark. Her sad eyes make her a sitting duck. Predators can smell her coming from a mile away. Monsters like the trumped-up one have honed in on their radars to detect our dysfunction. They pick up a signal when we've got trauma, or when we've come from broken homes, or grew up in poverty, or have daddy issues, or when we're grieving a loss. They can sense when we struggle with a substance abuse, or when our self-esteem is shattered, or when we're self-saboteurs, or we come from the wrong side of the tracks. It's criminal, or at least it's supposed to be. It's really only criminal on paper. It's actually become more like a rite of passage. Most people these days are either a victim or a perp, or both sometimes. Every villain has an origin story after all. Rape culture has been completely normalized in our society. Nothing to see here, folks. Boys will be boys, after all. I know. I'm well aware that it's not just the boys who do it. Trust me, I know plenty of male victims too. The boys just tend to do it on a much larger scale and with much more impunity. The vulgarity, the violence, the vileness is just par for the course. Yet we're supposed to use terms like grape, SA, unalived, pew-pews, and pedophiles as to not be offensive, or get ourselves banned on social media. I guess what causes offense and outrage is relative, just like what causes trauma and grief is relative. I've seen people calling the Epstein victims and other sexual assault survivors whores and gold diggers, even though some of them were literally kids when it happened. I swear it's like some of us have become so estranged from our own inner child that we've lost the ability to see through the eyes of other children, real children, living amongst us in the right here and the right now. We've forgotten what it was like to feel afraid or confused or overwhelmed by new and unfamiliar situations. We've lost touch with our sense of joy, innocence, and wonder. Most of us are jaded, apathetic, and desensitized, so all we do is sit on our hands. That is, when we're not standing around wringing them because we're so bent up inside about it, or pacing the floor with them balled in the fist because we're so pissed and don't know where to put our anger. We're tarnishing our future by washing our hands of the past and not addressing all the ways we're failing our children in the present. I dare somebody to call one of them a whore to me. I'm on the warpath and I am not to be messed with right now, or ever again. It doesn't matter to me if I'm labeled an angry, hysterical, emotional, aggressive, or cold-hearted bitch. They can call me whatever they want. All I can say is my name is Shana, so they must not be talking to me. Truly, I couldn't care less what they think anyway, beyond feeling the need to keep tabs on them. Those folks and that mindset are absolutely unsafe for the rest of us. I'll call it out every time. I no longer feel a need to explain myself, my motives, or my choices to anybody. That's not to say that I won't continue to explain myself as I see fit. I'm doing it right now. What I'm trying to explain here is that some of those girls in the Epstein files were viciously raped. Some of those little girls were threatened and coerced in order to gain their consent. Some of them just needed the money. But some of them just wanted to feel some sort of way that seemed right to them at the time, in their underdeveloped and inexperienced young brains and bodies, trauma or no trauma. The man who raped me when I was 19 is guilty of sexual assault. But the sexy stud in those see-through shorts that made me feel like a woman when I was far from it is also guilty of sexual assault. I was a child, a willing child, but still a child. A very mixed up, very messed up, very mature for my age child. Oh, those pesky paradoxes. Oh, those pesky pedophiles. Pedos, perverts, and perps. Oh my. Let's keep talking about this stuff, y'all. It's really important that we take control of the narrative. We got to shake people with the truth to wake them up, and with any luck, get them to actually do something. Anything. There are tons of different ways to be a change maker. Even something so simple as liking, sharing, or commenting on this video or one like it can be part of the solution. Get creative. May we all learn how to speak up and put our foot down. Find your cause. Find your lane. Then put the pedal to the metal. I hope you find your voice along the way. In the meantime, feel free to let me be your voice. I bet some of y'all have sexual assault stories of your own to tell. I know I've got plenty more to share. Thank you for listening to this one. I hope it resonates with some of y'all and that it helps to change the way people see those Epstein survivors, those Epstein warriors. May everyone start to see them with a new perspective, with less judgment and with more understanding, compassion, validation, and acknowledgement of the children they were when it happened, and the children they still are inside. And may they all be able to heal those wounded children inside themselves and finally feel safe. Not many of us feel very safe right now, and the constant gaslighting is completely grotesque. It's all absolutely deflating, enraging, and utterly exhausting. Our nervous systems are all getting a real workout every day these days, so make sure you take good care of yourselves and be kind to you. You're the leading role in the story of your life, and you're a really important character in our story. Don't forget that. I'm sending you all love until the next episode. Whose twisted tale will I tell next? Will it be yours? Send it to me at ItsBetterOutThanIn.com. ItsBetterOutThanIn at gmail.com. Because it is better out than in.